Hi, in this video I'm gonna let you know 5 tips that were crucial in developing my self-discipline and hopefully will help you as well. First of all, if you would like to skip to the summary section or one of the tips directly, you can find them all around me. My name is Dean and let's get started. Okay, so first of all, since childhood I was described as a hard worker, but inside I felt like I'm a loser because I could not develop a proper discipline for some reason, and it took me more than 2 decades to actually develop it. I felt inside like a loser because I asked myself, what's the point of working really hard if you cannot concentrate all of your effort in one endeavor or in one field and then develop a very powerful skill, for example? But that's not to say that this is supposed to be the way for everybody, because it's not. There are some people that really like different things, and that is okay. That was just not my cup of tea, let's put it this way. However, once I started incorporating these 5 things I'm gonna share with you now, my discipline skyrocketed through the roof. So what are those tips? Number 1, affirmations. So about 5 years ago, there was a song that I mastered, but it took me 5.5 years to do this, and 2 times I quit guitar just because I could not master this one song. And this song is called Technical Difficulties by Paul Gilbert. It took me concentrated effort for about 5 to 6 months, I would say, and every single day I would play for at least 3 hours. Sometimes I would play even 9 hours. So as you can imagine, I had moments where I would doubt myself, where I could not go anymore because it was too hard. Because when you play this amount of hours, you will inevitably have moments where you start to question yourself, where you are gonna be put on the spot. And these are the moments of your biggest growth. So a typical scenario was when I would play about 3 to 4 hours and my motivation was pretty high and I was pumped and I was in a good mood, and then all of a sudden everything goes down and my spirits are low, like I cannot do this, and I feel like, please kill me, right? And what I would do at that moment is just tell myself, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And sometimes I would repeat this, I can do this, for 20, 30 minutes, sometimes even 40 minutes. And this would always work because for some reason that worked as like a hypnotist or something. Yeah, for some reason I would brainwash myself that I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, right? Because physically I was able to go through this, even though it was painful. Because when I, for example, played guitar for 3 and 4 hours, after that, the other hours, after 4 hours mark, usually, they would be painful. So every single minute was painful and painful and painful. And at that moment, the only thing that would help me was this affirmation. I can do this. I can do this, right? This was basically like a middle person between me and success. So this was holding my hands and helping me to go through the bridge of pain. So a repeated use of this I can do this phrase made me basically feel like I am indestructible and I can go through anything. And if I need to, I can play another 3, 4 or 5 hours of pain. But of course, this phrase alone, I can do this, is not gonna help you out be able to withstand, let's say, 8 hours of playing guitar, because I could not have done this if I did not have any fundament before that, right? Because here I was talking not about being ready physically, but being ready mentally. So for example, physically you're able to withstand 8 hours of doing whatever you're doing, but mentally or emotionally you feel down, and maximum that you think you can go through is 3 hours. Even though objectively you can go 8 hours, hypothetically, right? Of course, this is not the only affirmation that helped me. I had many other affirmations, and I'm gonna share some with you right now. No matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. Les Brown. At the end of your feeling is nothing. At the end of every principle is a promise. Eric Thomas. You never lose. You either win or learn. Nelson Mandela. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. Calvin Coolidge. And other phrases, of course. Number 2, remind yourself of the reasons that you're doing this for. So why are reasons so important? Your reason might be one of the greatest assets that you have in developing your discipline. Why so? Well, because when you work really hard at something for a very big amount of hours, you are gonna get to a point where you're gonna start questioning yourself, like, why am I doing this? Because it hurts me so much, I don't know what to do. It's like, oh, you are getting a little bit confused and you start to doubt yourself. And this is the moment where you can look at your reasons, and that is what's gonna put you back in the game. If you don't have a particular reason why you're doing what you're doing, well, then your productivity is gonna be quite low. Well, maybe high in the beginning, but eventually it will go down and down and down. Because whether you have a reason or you don't have it, you are still gonna be going to a stage when you work really hard at something where you feel like you're in a purgatory, right? And in that state, you're gonna feel like you are cleansing, and it's painful, and it's almost like a spiritual experience. And your disowned emotions and hidden motivations are gonna come to surface. And what you're gonna do then? That's when the reason comes into play, and that's one of the only things that can keep you in the game. Okay, moving on to number 3, see the big picture. So a lot of people are stuck and not really motivated because they do not see further than their nose. And yeah, of course, that makes them not really motivated, right? And I'm talking here about the inner mind's eye, not the real eyes, of course. What you can do is imagine a big timeline, let's say it's something like this, right? And what you can do is imagine yourself being here, and that is the end, right, where you want to be. And in order to go to this place, you need, for example, 10 hours of work, right? 10 hours of consistent effort. And sometimes people get discouraged when they work, for example, 6 or 7 hours, and then they feel like for some reason they should have been here, but actually the requirement was 10 hours, right? And what you can do is you can imagine yourself being in this position, and when you are done with 6-7 hours, and when other people are gonna give up, what you are gonna see is that you only have 3 hours left. And this is not a reason for you to give up, to just give in, right? Whereas if you did not have this visualization of the timeline, right? Well, in that case, you would not know where you are, where you're going, and yeah, how many hours are still left there. To be fair, even if you have a timeline, you still do not know how many hours are left, right? I was just speaking hypothetically that you have 3 hours left. Maybe you have even more, right? But at least you can see yourself having some kind of a progress, not just sitting in one place as the other people did, the people that do not see this or do not visualize this timeline. When I am doing this, I'm feeling more motivation, and it's as if it's easier to go through difficulties with this kind of imagination. I also remember a video game, and it's called Sims. And in that video game, when you would develop any particular skill, you would have the main character or any character that is developing this skill having a kind of a capsule right above his head, and this capsule would be filling with the experience points until it reaches the next level. And so every single level had its own capsule criteria. And what I would do, I would imagine having this imaginary capsule right above my head, and every single time I would try to develop some kind of a skill, right? I would imagine collecting more and more of these points. So anytime I would do this, that would give me extra motivation, and it would give me some kind of an anticipation, right? This feeling of excitement and anticipation that, yeah, okay, so I am accumulating these points day by day, step by step, right? But one day I'm gonna reach the top of this capsule and then get another one. And when I get another one, how is that gonna feel? How skillful am I gonna be? So you can do the same for you and then see how that's gonna change your attitude. Okay, number 4, think of yourself as a rocket. So what you might be having right now is the resistance that a rocket is feeling every time it launches from Earth, right? And it's gonna feel this pull of gravity from Earth until it reaches a point where this gravity has no impact on it. So the same situation might be happening inside of you right now, because you are probably trying to reach another level or another version of yourself, to become a better version of yourself, right? And now the old version of you is trying to pull you back into it. And what you want to do is just continue going until the old version cannot pull you anymore. It cannot pull you because you're too far away. And when you're too far away, well, then finally you can do whatever you want. So what you want to do is just remind yourself that this pull is normal, this pull is expected, and the most important thing is temporary. And so resistance in this case is something good, because it's something that is forcing you to become stronger, to become a better version of yourself, as Elliot Hulse put it. I once heard a pretty funny analogy where the person said that the rocket is always going to have some resistance until it reaches the space, and when it's in space, then even the push of a toddler is going to be able to make it move, because gravity has that little impact now. And now finally, number 5, get past that point. I'm sure many viewers have had this kind of experience where they are doing something for a long time and then they feel inside that they cannot keep going. And I mean emotionally or psychologically, but not physically. So physically you are able to do this, but psychologically or emotionally you feel like, no, I do not have the motivation or the mental fortitude to continue. So I'm not talking about the moments where you, for example, cannot read anymore and yeah, you do not understand anything and you need legitimate rest right now, right? I am talking about the moments where you can read for another 2 hours, for example, but you just do not get motivated. So in these kind of moments, it is very, very important to remind yourself that eventually, if you keep going, you are going to reach a point after which you don't feel that much resistance anymore. And you feel like you can keep going and actually you are enjoying it. Maybe you had an experience in your life where you've been doing something for a long time and then you felt like you cannot go anymore and it's just too hard, right? But unfortunately you had a deadline to fulfill, so you had another 2 or 3 hours to keep going, right? And that forced you to reach a point where you feel no resistance anymore. It's as if you cracked something open. It's as if you have let go of all the resistance and for some reason it was smoother than ever. Whereas before that, the other 2, 3 or even 4 hours were really tough. So let's say you've been working for 6 hours and the first 4 were quite torturous, but the last 2 were pretty easy because you passed this point, right? So remind yourself that this point exists and is always there and it's waiting for you, if you are willing to work towards it. But sometimes you need to earn it first. I read one time that there are 2 types of people, or 2 categories of people, if you will. So the first category is I'm gonna do it when I feel it, and the second category is I'm gonna do it until I feel it. So let's think like people from the second category, because we will not depend on our feelings, the feelings that say, oh, quit, I don't want to do this anymore, this is too hard. But what we will do is focus on our inner mind's eye that knows that there's going to be one point after which we're going to feel no resistance. Alright, thank you very much for investing your time in this video. I really appreciate that. If you found value in this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. Also, if you know somebody that will benefit from watching this video, please share it with them. And if you have any questions or suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. Here is the summary, and see ya in the next video.